Hello and welcome to This Week in Wrestling. As always, I am going to talk about Monday Night Raw to kick us off. And the card this week consisted of Drew McIntyre kicking off the show. It was also interrupted by, Miz and Morrison, MVP, Sheamus, everybody really.
Anyone.
Which ahead of the first match of the night, which was Drew McIntyre taking on Sheamus, believe it or not, in a throwaway match at the start of Raw, with Drew McIntyre picking up the win in what was a fucking awesome match, and I'm so sad that it was just a throwaway match on Raw. We got Nia Jax taking on Naomi, and Nia Jax squashed the shit out of her in about 3 minutes. So
This was a true squash match.
it was a true squash match. We had the WWE title on the line at the top of the hour, except it was a no contest because Miz was unable to compete. But that's okay because he was going to compete later on in the night. We had the tag titles on the line with the Hurt Business taking on obviously the new number one contenders, Braun Strowman and Adam fucking Pearce.
What?
With the Hurt
fuck
Business
was this?
picking up the win. Who fucking knows? Who knows? So, no surprise, Hurt Business still champs. We had Elias taking on Damian Priest, and Damian Priest's successful run continues as he picked up the win, although it's only against Elias, so yeah.
Did Elias have his buddy with him this week?
He did have his buddy, and
His
Damian had his
bodyguard.
bunny. And we had Randy Orton was confronted by Randy Orton via TV, and he scared himself, and then he coughed and he ran away. So that was cool.
That happened. That was a thing.
That was a thing, and it happened. It is true. Then, Anthony, don't worry. Top of the second hour, we have the WWE title on the line with The Miz taking on Bobby Lashley, and Bobby Lashley wins by count out because The Miz runs away and therefore retains the championship. We had Charlotte Flair taking on Shayna Basler after cutting an awful promo where she pretended to be all sincere, basically was like, I want Asuka's belt. I'm sorry she had a tooth knocked out last week, but I want a belt. Cool. You're really good at playing a face, Charlotte. And she beat Shayna Baszler, so yay. We had Riddle teaming with the Lucha House Party to take on Retribution, and Ali picked up the win for his team on Matt Riddle. Does that mean we're potentially going to get to see an Ali Riddle feud for the US title? Probably.
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe, potentially.
Sure.
Why not?
Be another Who Cares match coming up. Love it.
Well, who could be any worse at this point? And the main event of the evening, Anthony, was we finally got a match, and it was a lumberjack match this time to stop Miz running away, as the Miz took on Bobby Lashley, the third attempt of the night. Finally went ahead, and we crowned a new champion in Mr. Bobby Lashley, the Almighty himself. Huzzah!
Good.
That
Good.
was the show. In terms of highlights, Drew and Sheamus, man. It was so fucking good. What an absolute
I can see it in your
war.
notes as well, on capitals. So fucking good.
That's right. This is the match I wanted them to have at Mania. It was amazing. And if they would have had more time, at Mania to put this on, man, it was just so good.
They could have built this. They could have built it. Not a problem.
Well,
you chose not to.
This is the most fucking built thing that any of the other feuds have even got, and it was a fucking throwaway match at the start of Raw.
But they could have marketed the fuck out of this. Like, we all know it's going to be Edge Roman, right? So we've got plenty of time to get that idea, to get those graphics out there, to get like people hyped for it, and they could have been doing the same thing with Drew and Sheamus. I know some people weren't enamored on the Drew Sheamus match. I'm with you. I think it would have been it clearly was a banger of a match, but this could have been a Mania event, definitely.
It really could have. I'm just so disappointed. I feel so bad for both Drew and Sheamus, to be fair, because Sheamus has been a standout this year. I think he very rarely put on a bad match.
This year, currently in March.
Year. Well, all right, over the last few months, maybe going into last year, like he has been really, really good. He's it's probably the best we've seen him in a long while. And
I'm
this
so
is only
relieved
what
he's
a
on
couple of
Raw
months.
because what he was doing on SmackDown was just annoying me. I'll be
Well,
honest.
exactly. Like he's a completely different character, almost to
Yep.
the bitch and whine and moaning guy he was with the whole Jeff Hardy thing. And he's been really good. He's been entertaining, and for him not to get this match at Mania is disappointing. Also disappointing to the likes of Drew, who, you know, it's a weird one. He's been built up so well, smashed Brock Lesnar, beat fucking the Big Show on the same night. He's beat Goldberg. He's beat every fucking challenger that's come his way. But he's also
Yeah,
lost
he
the
beat
belt
Randy a
twice.
few times.
Exactly. He's lost the belt twice randomly in the space of the year. He lost it to Orton for no reason. And
Mm.
now the Miz has beat him to become a transitional champion. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, right? I said last week or the week before, if it's going to be that they use this to get Drew versus Lashley at Mania, okay, I could understand it. But I don't even know if we're going to get that still. Like, I mean,
No
it
one
seems
does.
like that's what we would do, but
Even Vince doesn't know yet. He's waiting to hear back
apparently.
from Vince.
And the annoying thing is with it as well is no one's going to come off good, because if you finally do book Drew versus Bobby at Mania, what do? You have Drew go over and get that crowd pop, but then you've just buried Lashley, who could
See, this is the
actually
thing.
be a main
So
event
many
guy.
people are actually really quite hyped that Lashley's got it. So the box, if that was the plan, I think they've boxed themselves into a difficult position because there's going to be people who fucking hate it as well.
Well, that's it. Like I've already seen a lot of people turning against Drew, saying, oh, he's been the champion for a year. And it's like, well, fuck me, he's held the company up for a year without any fans. Like, you can't just shit on Drew just because Bobby's, but like they have really royally fucked themselves over. The only, we spoke about it very briefly in the news. The only way they could properly rescue this, really, would be if they could bring Brock back and they had Lashley versus Lesnar,
Yep.
and Lashley beats him, and then that makes Bobby even more credible. But then you fucking Drew over, and if you're gonna do that, then why didn't we get the Sheamus match? I mean, like, I don't know. I just feel so bad for Drew. It's just
There's
that's such a
one good
fucking
thing we can take from this. The
go
money
on.
in the bank's no longer a thing.
Well,
Done.
yeah,
Played the
until
hand.
June,
It's
Anthony, and
over.
then they're gonna fucking shit the bed again, aren't they? To be honest,
Oh,
but
I mean, I really hope they put it on someone a bit more fucking sensible this time.
well,
They're fucking Otis and going, well, what the fuck do we do with this?
yeah, then give it to the Miz. So great. Um, but look, I don't want, like, I know I'm shitting all over it, but the Drew and Sheamus match was fantastic, and also the main
Oh yeah, we're in
event,
the
which
highlights.
was yeah, exactly, the main event was great as well. To be fair, I thought I actually enjoyed all of it, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought the whole Miz trying to get out of it, being a little weasel, oh, he's sick, and then Lashley was like, okay, I'm gonna fucking kick your ass, like you're gonna have this match, and then they finally have it, and he just runs away, and it's like that's amazing, and then
See,
they have the
I
lumberjack
will.
thing, and he just can't escape.
I agree. Like this is the type of thing that it feels like something I should bitch about, but at the same time, like it's very in keeping with the Miz's character, and it was actually a
Mhm.
clever way of filling the 3 hours as well.
Yeah, I agree. It was a useful tactic to get people invested to be there for all 3 hours, wasn't it? Because
Mm.
you knew that the match was going to be the top of the first hour, didn't happen, but then we're going to get it at the top of the second, didn't happen, we'll definitely get it at the top of the third. So you're like, well, fucking hell, I've invested the rest of the time trying to look for it, so I'm going to come back for hour three, and
Yeah.
you see the crowning moment of Bobby Lashley, and he's been with the company for God knows how many years. I know he left and he's come back, but he's finally got that moment, and I think it is great for him, and I think he could be a really, really good main event guy. The problem I've got with it now is obviously the whole Drew situation, but also the fact that it's this whole thing, while it may have been effective to get the title on Bobby, has cheapened the WWE title, because if your champion in the Miz is someone who can just get absolutely decked in like a couple of minutes and is running away with the belt and stuff, it's like, oh, well, now your new champion didn't really beat anyone that big to get it. Do you know what I mean? So straight away, Lashley's off with, a bit of a meh kind of title because he won it off the
Mm.
Miz.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
Yeah.
but these are highlights because I did enjoy them in different ways, but I
And
don't
do you
many
know what?
people did
Like
them at the same
in a
time.
lot of ways, it's really cool. The whole and I think you've mentioned it in previous weeks, and you've been big on MVP the whole time. But like, it is really good for the hair business and MVP, isn't it? Like, and you got to take that away from it at least. Like you say, all right, not the biggest win for Bobby. He does need to defend that against someone massive, I suppose. But it is pretty cool seeing like they've all got the gold, and it's all thanks to MVP. Yeah.
I mean, it's insane to think when he came back at that Royal Rumble, what he would do for them three individuals. You had Shelton was just a fucking jobber, doing nothing. He'd come back to absolutely nothing. No,
Yeah.
Just to be a jobber. You had
Crazy,
Cedric, who was just
a jobber.
well, yeah, but he was just like, he was a cruiserweight, but then he wasn't. He didn't know what to do with him. He was a good guy. Threw him a Ricochet. That was a bit like, eh. Then you had Lashley, who was a fucking in a Cook angle with fucking Rusev and Lana.
Yeah,
You know
and
what I mean?
then that ended, and he's Lana's his manager for some reason.
Yeah, exactly. So all that shit, and then you fast forward and go, you've got this fucking killer faction, and they even tried to fuck some of that up for a bit as well. The whole stuff with Cedric and Shelton falling out and things, which just didn't need to happen.
Yeah,
Like, why can't they
unnecessary.
just have a faction that is strong and united? Like, why is that?
Exactly.
Why can't that be a thing? Why is there always going to be infighting and stuff? So, it seems like they're not pushing that as anywhere near as much as they were. So I hope that they do just stay a strong faction, the hair business, and it'd be great to add some female talent there as well and try and capture the women's gold because I don't want to see fucking Charlotte Flair win the belt. So, yeah.
Still could have been like this could have been Naomi's push that we were so pushing for.
Well, Anthony, this is a fantastic segue to my first Oshite, and
I feel
that
like you
is
goaded me into this.
what just played right into my hand. What the fuck was this, man? Right? Naomi came back. She was gone for ages. I don't even think she was injured. They just had nothing for her. They finally brought her back, and it was like, oh, awesome, Naomi's back now. Then they put her in a tag team with Lana for no reason, and then she's just been squashed in like a 3-minute match. She just made her look awful. Literally, Nia just fucking mopped the floor with her.
I mean, no
Why?
disrespect to Lana when I say this, but we've just had Nia come off a loss to Lana, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, might have been a couple of weeks ago now, but my whole incident was her taking the loss, wasn't it? She did lose that ultimately.
Yeah.
So she can't beat Lana, but she can beat
she can
Naomi in
absolutely
decisive fashion.
annihilate. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that
makes a
I'm
lot of fucking
flabbergasted by
sense.
this. I really feel for Naomi because she's so fucking talented and it's just horrendous
This
the way that they've been
feels like
treating her.
disrespect. This doesn't it really?
It is honestly ludicrous and it achieved nothing. It didn't benefit them at all. It's not even like Lana and Naomi seem to be even in the tag picture anymore because you had, like the tag titles are now we've got defended on NXT, which I'm sure you're going to speak about, and then on SmackDown we're finding out that they're getting defended again, but it's not to fucking Lana and Naomi, is it? So what was the point of it? Why squash it? Did it make any sense?
Crazy, innit?
And speaking of shit that doesn't make any sense, what was this fucking shit show with fucking Adam Pearce, Braun Strowman, and Shane McMahon? What was I watching? Braun comes out, as he always does, and he's like, "Yeah, you guys screw me over." Yeah. And Shane's like, "No, I'm not screwing you over, man. In fact, I'm gonna give you a chance to get some gold. Yeah, you're gonna get the tag team titles." And Braun's like, "That doesn't sound too bad, actually." Okay, Braun. So your partner's gonna be Adam Pearce. You better not mess this up. Oh, okay. And then what? Lo and behold, Braun's got the match won. Shane jumps up and he's like, "No, tag him in." And Braun does it, listens to him. What a fucking dick. And then Pierce loses.
So,
What is this?
well, I want to point out that Braun is a man who formerly won the tag team titles with an 11-year-old boy.
He is.
And yet can't win the titles with a fully grown professional wrestler.
This is true, yeah. So Adam Pearce is worse than 11-year-old. What was his name? That guy. Damn it.
It's not Nick.
Nicholas.
Was it Nicholas?
It was Nicholas, yeah.
I was close then.
Yeah, you were close.
Yeah, so that's it officially. Adam Pearce is not as good as Nicholas.
But what is this shit though? Like, I get that they're building up for Braun and Shane, which nobody wants, but why? And what role is Adam Pearce playing in all of this? Like, I know he was involved as well. Like, I don't understand the Shane and Pearce dynamic. and I'm sure you might mention some stuff that happened on NXT about this as
Yeah.
well. But I don't get it at all. It's just a shit show. And I mentioned this before briefly. I'm not sure if it was as part of this or as part of the Ringside Report because I'm kicking off about it a lot. But nobody wants to see Charlotte take on Asuka. Nobody. If you tell me you do, you're a fucking liar. Because who wants this? Who wants this? Charlotte is a terrible face. She
Well,
can't do
you've
it.
actually put this possibility, this match out in the social media over the last few weeks, and
Mhm.
most people are like, I don't want to see Charlotte with the title. Don't want to see Charlotte get the title again. So it's not. It seems it's not a match a lot of people want. In all fairness, I'm sure some people do, but like, just give some other people a go. For fuck's sake.
Like it's so bad, isn't it? Like we were saying the last time we saw her before she went off for a bit, how forced down everyone's throat she was. And my fucking God, she's back for 2 minutes, and here she is again. She's like, and I just as a baddie, as a heel, she can do it. Like she's all right, but there's no way she can do it as a face. She sucks.
Yeah,
No one can
because
look
she
at her
comes
and
across like
feel.
a bad guy.
Yeah,
She's not a convincing face at all. She's the natural heel.
exactly, exactly. Um, so I'm just
Like,
I'm just
put
done
it
with her. I
this way,
don't want to
right?
see her.
In the last storyline she was in, the insinuation was Lacey was literally shagging her dad, and I was still
Yeah,
on Lacey's side.
yeah,
That's how
me
bad she is
too.
at being a face.
Me too. Um, so yeah, for fuck's sake, I don't know. Like if they're gonna do it, at least turn a heel. I feel bad on Asuka as well because I've been saying this every week. Is she probably shouldn't even have the belt at this point? She's just got it. She's the afterthought. Like the belt is an afterthought at this point. Charlotte, when she came back, has had more screen time than fucking Asuka anyway. So
But you just gotta love the respect they give the women's title, and you.
it's annoying as fuck, especially when you've got. And I know Alexa's killing it at the minute on being like the Fiend's little sidekick, but like you've got talent there. You've got Alexa, you've got Naomi, you've got fucking Liv Morgan, you've got even
Even
like I don't know,
even Shayna
Peyton
on a
Royce.
solo sense is
Yeah,
a credible threat.
yeah. Like you could do stuff to make this title interesting, and it isn't, and it hasn't been for a while. And giving it to Charlotte isn't going to make that any more interesting. So yeah. So that was it in terms of highlights and O'Shites, Anthony. There was other stuff that happened, and some of it I wasn't super favourable about, to be fair, and other stuff was fine. But in terms of the big, highlights and O'Shites, that was pretty much the show. But I know I only had two highlights, but I'm thinking a 2.5 for this show because for a Raw, it was good. I like the whole
Yep.
the ticking clock element of it. What you've already mentioned of you had to kind of be interested for hour one, hour two, and hour three, and the way they did that, I thought was fantastic. Fucking excellent match, so good with Drew and Sheamus. And there was some other shit that happened too, which was bland enough not to be offensive,
Then
but
drag
looks
it
good enough
down.
to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for
No,
me, I think it's like middle of the road.
I'm probably gonna have to meet you at 2.5 because I want to reward the fact that this is genuinely the most structured I've seen Raw in a while, and
Mm.
it helps. It really helps. Like you say that it kept me engaged enough for the 3 hours. Yes, stuff could have been done better. Some matches I weren't that interested in, but like you say, you had to kind of watch it till the end to find out what was going on with the Miz, and I think that's it was a really good structure this week. So 2.5 because it wasn't perfect, but it's a lot better.
Okay, I like it. I like it. And speaking of
So
things which aren't
speaking of not
perfect,
perfect, nice.
let's
Should we talk about NXT then?
do it.
Okay. So, I'll quickly run through the card. We had only Lorcan and Danny Burch going up against Tim Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa, with Lorcan and Burch taking the win. We saw a promo from Finn Balor slash Roderick Strong, in a way, which we'll talk about some more shortly. We had a match between Ember Moon and Aaliyah, with Ember Moon taking the win. This involved some shenanigans from obviously their respective partners, but ultimately not detracting from the match. Sorry, I'm starting to talk about the match. We'll carry on with the card. The card is what's important. We had Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai going up against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler in a tag team titles match, with Jackson Baszler taking the win. We saw Bronson Reed going up against Cameron Grimes, with Cameron Grimes taking the win. We saw Breezango going up against Everrise, which ended in a no contest for fucking stupid reasons. And then we close the night with Finn Balor going up against Roderick Strong, with Finn Balor taking the win. That's the card. So as far as the highlights go, Carl, I have two. The first one saying, and this may surprise you, this is the best I have seen Nia Jax and Shayna Basler in a tag match at any point ever. Like, okay. I sincerely hope that the only reason that they've done this sort of odd, sort of debatable finish and this, what they're hinting at towards a rematch, is because we're going to get a rematch with Gonzalez and Kai going up onto Raw to actually go for the titles again. And for those who didn't see it and are relying on me, there was shenanigans involved. The referee was out, and it was a bit of a screwy finish in terms of Pierce getting involved and the decision being made in that sense. But the win was the win. But it's always to that point they can sort of insist that it wasn't a fair match, and I can very much see that they're going to go ahead. I've weirdly heard some suggestions, and I really hope it's not true, Carl. I don't know if you've read this anywhere. Probably should have been news, but that they're potentially introducing NXT tag team titles for the women, which I really hope is not the case, because we need I don't want this to happen, because this is exactly what should have been. I was made up with this, and I made up with the idea that NXT girls can go over to Raw and have that rematch, right? Because the tag titles need to be done this way. We've already evidenced it enough that there's not enough tag teams to keep these titles relevant. That's why they need to include NXT more, and that's why they need to only have this set of titles. This is the problem we've got with the men's tag team titles. We've got SmackDown ones and Raw ones, and then you end up with matches that involve fucking Braun Strowman and Adam Pearce for no damn reason, because we don't have any tag teams to go up against, and this is going to be the problem. So, slight rant aside, this was a really good match, actually quite enjoyable, and I do hope that we get a rematch. Any thoughts?
Yeah. No, I thought I probably agree with you, to be fair, although I don't want to shit on it, because it's not that hard to have their best match as a tag team, because it's been pretty shit, to be fair. But yeah, I thought it was fine. It was all right. I don't think we are going to see that rematch, though, because I think it's because I believe William Regal is going to make an announcement, isn't he? And if all is to be believed, that announcement is the tag titles.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can't 100% say that that's what his announcement is going to be, but it's heavily suggested, and I fear for this because they're going to be so fucking irrelevant very quick.
Mm-hmm.
They'll keep some of the tag teams they've already built up going for the tournament, so you'll get Shotzi and Ember Moon and stuff like that, but it's going to fizzle out because they don't like keeping tag teams together, and these are all people who are solo stars that have been put together for the tournament. So it makes sense now, not in a few months, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just keep it? Anyway, so we'll see what happens, but that was quite an enjoyable match. And the second one is generally, I'll be honest, Finn Balor in the title scene starting to grow on me. I've been moaning about Balor for a while now. I've been saying he's kind of just phoning it in. I feel like he's been putting in the work the last few months. And in all fairness, like, we've now got the Undisputed Era is kind of split up, but with a mechanism to, like, basically everybody wants a piece of Balor. They all hate each other as well. I'm intrigued to see where this is going, and this is why I want to give it some credit, because I'm intrigued, because we've got obviously had a match between Balor and Strong this week, with Balor taking the win. Adam Cole came out and was sort of watching them from the top, and making his intentions still clear. Balor issued in his promo a statement to Cole that he can have a title match with him, but obviously he needs to turn up, sort of thing, or he needs to turn up tonight, or whatever fucking ultimatum we give him. So we've got so many moving parts, and then we've also got Kyle O'Reilly probably going to get in the fucking mix again. So I'm looking at it like, I kind of like where they're going. Like, the Undisputed has devolved into a point where they all equally can go for the title, because they're not trying to support each other. So it's not everyone get behind Adam Cole. Finn Balor's now having to keep eyes in the back of his head because he's got that many people after his title. And I don't know, I'm intrigued to see where we end up. I think there's going to be some sort of big multi-man match for this title ultimately, but if I can't have Karrion Kross going for the title, which should fucking happen, at least I can get some sort of intrigue about what's going to happen. So I want to give it a bit of credit.
Okay.
Any thoughts?
I still don't like Balor. I don't know. I was a sucker for his former character, and I just think, I don't know. I'm still not sold on him. I am looking forward to seeing Balor and Cole, to be fair. So again, I'm not going to give this show credit because it didn't give me that. But maybe next week, if that's when it happens, I want to see that match. So, yeah, maybe I'll be less of a dick to NXT next week.
Here's hoping. So as far as the O'Shites go, first one, nice and simple. Main O'Shite, Cameron Grimes. So my next one is no, generally I don't know where they're going with this whole gimmick. He's kind of pointless. He should not have beat Bronson. I mean, I know they did it with shenanigans, but that was just because they're trying to involve what's his name, the LA King. What would they give him his new name as?
Yeah, LA King.
Yeah, trying to involve him in the mix now as well. But Cameron Grimes is this like, I've made loads of money and I'm a rich guy thing. It's like it didn't work with a more believable cowboy heel in JBL. It doesn't fucking work with you, Cameron. So there you go. So I don't know. He might be Marmite. People might fucking love him. I just don't get it. I don't get what the appeal is at all. So Cameron Grimes, first O'Shite. Any thoughts, Carl?
I don't hate him as much as you, but I agree with what you're saying. I think he is a bit Marmitey. I know my brother thinks he's great. I know that you think he's shit, and I'm just like, meh. He is what
That's
he
it.
is.
Get
So.
Brad on this show right now. Need to resolve this shit.
So yeah, I don't know. He's okay. Is my thought.
Okay, fair enough. I'm hoping you've got to agree with me on the next one, Calm, right? So this week, and I'm just the way they've booked this is more the issue I've got. So we had a match between Breezango and Everrise that never happened. The reason this never happened because Legado del Fantasma turned up and battered everyone because they're trying to make a point that there's still a threat. So why are they having to make that point, Carl? Because they got fucking dominated by Karrion Kross, one man versus all of them at Takeover. And that was an embarrassing loss. It was a fucking stupid booking because it does not help them at all. And the mild, lazy attempt to give them a bit of credibility back was to attack two sets of teams before the match even got to happen. And it's like, well, you've done me out of a match, and you still haven't looked any stronger for it. So I think this is a fucking stupid booking. The Takeover element and this stupid.
Mm-hmm. I concur, to be fair, and I'm still a bit annoyed about just how Karrion Kross is being booked because it baffles me. It makes zero sense.
Yeah, like what's happening? What's happening with him now? Nothing.
Exactly. And like you wouldn't have to, go through the effort of building these guys back up if they didn't have that match for no fucking reason. He was never going for the fucking cruiserweight title, was he?
Yeah.
So
there was no point.
What?
It for some reason, and it's not even believable. Like this man has got so distracted by Escobar that he's dropped his intentions on the main title to have like just a match with him randomly. And just how is that in any way believable? And my last one, Carl. My last one is, and I've tried to articulate this to you before, but I'm going to explain this. This is generally about NXT. This is NXT over the last few months for me, right? And this is week in and week out now. I've been kind of meh. I've been like, it's okay. It wasn't bad. There were good matches, etc. And the reason I feel that is because I feel like every week we're waiting for more to happen. Like we're always on the edge of something happening. There's always like this echo of maybe something awesome's going to come from this. Maybe we're going to move into an awesome storyline, but it never comes. And this is kind of the problem I've got with NXT at the minute. That I always feel like they're building towards something that could be so awesome, and they never get there. And I feel like I've been sat here for months now, like, yeah, it was okay, and I can see where we're headed, and it could be good, but it never gets there, like ever. And that I just need to generally complain about that because there's too many weeks now where I'm like, yeah, that could be a good way to go. That could be a good storyline. I just feel like it never gets paid off properly. And we've had like 3 takeovers now, and none of them have ever been that much happening, that much impact for me.
That is fundamentally the biggest problem I have with NXT. Is they put out a show every week, and it's like, okay, I could literally not watch it for about fucking a month, and then be like, oh, so yeah, not really much has changed then. A couple of good matches happen, and not a whole lot else. Like they don't have the balance right of telling the story and having good in-ring matches. If you look at the quality of the matches that NXT put on are usually pretty good, aren't they?
Oh
To
yeah.
be fair, but
This is why.
you know,
This is how they normally get an okay rating from me, or a sort of a response, because the matches are good.
exactly, and I get it. They are a wrestling show, and they are more wrestling based than the likes of Raw and SmackDown. And but AEW is a wrestling show, but it still tells stories really well.
I'm
And
not being
don't
funny.
get me
Even
wrong.
genuine sports like UFC tell fucking
Mhm.
stories to get you enticed. Like
Well,
these two really hate each other, etc. To build
exactly.
you into that. So
And like, I'm going to come on to in a bit, and we'll probably chat about it on AEW. Is they advertise every week. Oh, and Sting will talk, and Sting will talk, and you're probably like, oh fucking hell, it doesn't go anywhere. But it builds to the pay-per-view, which is happening. Whereas
yeah,
a lot of stuff on NXT is like, as you've said, this is going to go somewhere. This is going to go somewhere. It just doesn't get there. It takes too long to get there if they ever are
yeah,
going to do it. So,
yeah. Well, it's like,
just
look at this. Like, I honestly, I'll have to go back and find out what happened to the Kings of NXT, because I don't know why Pat McAfee's not there anymore. Like, Lorcan and Birch are still knocking about, as is Pete Dunne. But like, what happened there? Or are they not friends anymore? Like, why did they hire the guy who injured himself to attack Adam Cole and then just kind of do nothing after that? Like, what was all that about? It's like they just went, can't be asked with that now.
mhm.
They were building towards something, but then,
Yeah,
I mean, some people
and
will argue that they had that match, that cage matchy thing at the pay per view, didn't they? But I don't know, all a
well, yeah.
bit weak
I
sauce.
mean, it would have been quite annoying to invest all your time and energy in that feud anyway, for then Adam Cole to turn on half of his team afterwards.
Yeah.
So probably a good
And
thing
for
that
me
we
to
got.
sit here now and not know what happened to the other team's leader in Pat McAfee, like, did he leave WWE? Is he still around? Does he have a contract? Is he coming back? Who knows? Let's
Well,
not
he's
bother
packing his
explaining
wrestling
that.
gear, Anthony. So maybe he's heading somewhere.
Maybe. So yeah, generally that was me sort of general one. It was still an okay week. I'm gonna give it 2.5.
So it's very rare, and I usually always undercut you on an NXT, and I'm not as devoted to it. And I used to love it. I used to love it. Don't get me wrong; it was definitely a fantastic show. But I'm going to undercut you by a full point this week. Yeah, I'm going to give it a one and a
Damn.
half. And I think it's only purely due to the fact of there were some good matches, and the rest of it just didn't. It wasn't compelling enough for me. Because
Mm.
again, nothing like, at least in like previous weeks and stuff like that, it's been okay matches. Not much has happened, but you've had like Adam Cole doing this or Adam Cole doing that, and this week it was just like, oh, now Adam Cole's going to fight Balor, which is cool. I want to see it, but I didn't see it this week. So it's like,
Oh, and another point I'll make, because it didn't really hit me highlights or shites, but like, they are a wrestling show, but they are willing to do things like story wise. They're just a bit daft
yeah,
because,
Gargano.
or, yeah, Gargano and the whole therapy thing, that
Yeah,
was there, but I didn't really find it funny or entertaining,
it
really.
it was
So
it was
just kind of
shit.
happened. Yeah.
It was so bad. And basically, what Loomis paid off the therapist, that was the big reveal, wasn't
Well,
it? At
yeah,
the end,
yeah.
it was like, right, okay, that's really funny.
But it's like that happened. So they're willing to try and do some sort of storytelling, but when they do, it's like that, and I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah,
There
agreed.
we are.
Here we are. But it's my due diligence to move us on to the Superior Wednesday Night Show, which is, of course, AW Dynamite, The Crossroads, because they like to give everything a name every week now for some reason.
Isn't that one of
Um,
Cody's finishes?
it is.
Okay.
And kicking off the show was Cody himself, teaming with Red Velvet to take on Shaquille O'Neal and Jade Cargill, with Shaq and Cargill picking up the win. We had the team of Pac and Ray Phoenix taking on John Schuyler and D3. I don't know who they are either. So, yeah, they lost. So Pac and
Is
Phoenix picked up
D3
the win.
related to B squared?
I hope so. We had Jericho and MJF having a press conference. Yeah, seen that before.
Okay.
We had FTR and Tully Blanchard in a match taking on Jurassic Express. Um, and I've not put who won on this, although I'm pretty sure it was FTR and Tully Blanchard.
Yeah.
We had Paul White making his first appearance and was set to make a big announcement. that he was going to make an announcement.
Oh, I wonder what it's going to be.
We had the final of the women's tournament with Nyla Rose taking on Ryo Mizunami, with Ryo Mizunami picking up the win in what was a
Quite
shock.
surprised at that. Quite surprised.
Yep. Sting talks again. So we had that. We had the Dark Order's Preston Vance, also known as number 10, taking on Max
10 tits
Caster
himself.
from that tag team I can't remember the name of that raps and shit, with Max Caster picking up the win. And the main event of the evening was Hangman Page teaming with John Silver from the Dark Order to take on Big Money Matt and Mark Quinn, with Hangman Page and John Silver picking up the win. So highlights. So the opening match was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, to be honest. Shaq was really good, man.
Fair play to him. He's put some effort in. He didn't want to embarrass himself. He wants to put on a good show, and he did.
That's it. He came. He delivered, man. He beat the shit out of Cody. He did a lovely little tribute to Brody Lee with the powerbomb that he did, which was lovely. He took an absolutely fucking epic bump through a table, or two tables.
Two tables, yeah.
So I mean, fucking hell, you can't really say much more than that. To be honest, he was really good. And I thought Red Velvet, this was her first big opportunity on like a big stage, and I thought she did really, really good as well. Obviously, it was the first time seeing Jade Cargill properly, and she was really good. I worry where she's going to fit into AEW's women's division, if I'm honest, because she's so different and she's so,
Well, of course she can fit in, man. She just hang around with the other three and keep having matches. I joke. The roster's getting better.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm struggling to place where where she would go in AEW, but she did look really good. But yeah. That being said, I thought it was a really fun opening match again. It wasn't obviously a high energy, high impact thing, but it was a super well-known name in Shaq making his wrestling debut, and getting pretty good showing as well, to be fair. So
to be fair, better than I think anyone expected.
Yeah, absolutely. The other highlights I've got, so Paul White, so he shows up and he makes an announcement, and it's this kind of stuff, which I'm a sucker for, to be honest, and I think a lot of the wrestling community is.
I think
you come out
for those who have not seen Dynamite yet, we'll spoil it for you. He was announcing that there is going to be a season 2 of the Big Show on Netflix, which we couldn't be happier for.
Exactly. I've been counting down the days. Jokes aside, no, he announced that he's going to make an announcement, so that's good. But no, they've signed a Hall of Fame worthy name, and they are going to sign the contract at Revolution. So straight away, your mind's racing. Who's that going to be and stuff. So nice to see Paul White. He gets a lot of shit, Big Show, Paul White, but I always like seeing him. I think he's a ledge. So I've never really been
I'm interested to see what he could do for the place. He's a big, well-known name.
Well, exactly, and I think he's been brought in. His main role is on commentary for Dark Elevation. So I don't think we're going to be seeing him. He's not like an authority figure or anything like that. So we're not going to be seeing loads.
I think naturally he is anyway. To be honest.
Well, yeah, but we might see 1 or 2 matches. But yeah, I thought nice little way to, and I'm going to say it as well. It's got a lot of shit, but I liked it. I love this little merch. It was like no more BS.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's the type of thing that the WWE stands are like all over, aren't they? Like, oh, petty popping shots. No, fuck it, it's quite clever.
Absolutely. So my only other highlight, is I actually really enjoyed Preston Vance and Max Caster. I thought it really surprised me as well, because I was like, oh yeah, Preston's definitely winning this, and for Max Caster to get the win, it's very rare, but I'm just like, whoa, was not expecting that. Usually it's just so telegraphed, isn't it, of like who's going to win. I think that was one of the complaints of Dynamite the previous week as well. So it was really good to see Max Caster actually pick up that surprise win. So I enjoyed that. In terms of the shite of the week, so right, Sting's a good promo, and Jericho, MJF, they're good promos.
Yep.
But both of their segments felt flat this week. So Sting came out to gain, and I think I joked last week, and I'll make the same joke. It's like the new fucking Roman Reigns on SmackDown, opening the show every week, and it gets a bit stale, right? So we've seen a few of these now the past few weeks. The one last week I thought was actually pretty decent. This week it was just a bit like, we've seen it, and I feel like they announced the match far too in advance, and they didn't have enough weeks worth of stuff to fill to hype
I
it if they
think
wanted to stay on the show
this
every week.
this right here is the problem. I think this is the problem generally with what Jericho's doing at the minute as well. That it's almost like the instruction is like go out there and fill some time, whereas previously they were cutting promos and doing segments as part of a story they were building.
Yeah.
Now I feel like there's no story. Like ultimately, we know where Sting's going, and we know where Jericho and MJF are going, and this is like, well, just vamp until we get there. Just say something. We've got time to fill here, and I don't like that because I've always praised AEW for their storytelling, and this feels a bit like they're going, we've not got enough story for the amount of hours we've got, which is not great.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's unfortunate, but that is the case. Especially with Sting and that they announced that match just way too far in advance.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just being weeks and weeks of Sting talking and then Taz showing up and being like, oh, and and then the last couple of weeks it started to escalate, but it's just too much. So this week it was a bit bland, and also Jericho and MJF. So we've seen a couple of these like press conference type things that they do, or like little bits and bobs. This one was the worst one they've done, to be fair. It wasn't really that funny. The highlight of it was MJF calling Conrad Thompson turkey tits, and it's like, well, yeah, fat joke. Like, no better than what WWE are doing with fucking Otis. So, yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't the level that I expect from them. And then after that whole thing, the Young Bucks come out, and I've already mentioned I don't think they're a very good promo anyway. But they come out and they say a few things, and then they end up beating up fucking Santana and Ortiz and putting them through tables, while Jericho and MJF kind of get off scot free, and I was just a bit
Naturally,
like,
yeah.
doesn't make any sense. So yeah, not the best. The women's finals is my next shite, and I don't want to be unfair here either because it was surprising, and I like the fact that it was surprising, but it kind of just feels like a bit of a damn squib now, and that's no offense to Ryo Mizunami. I just don't know her. I don't know anything about her. The Japan bracket happened, and we saw a little bit of it, didn't we? But it was a bit like, well, okay, that's all I know about this person, and a finals of her versus Nyla Rose. It was like, okay, like I wasn't really like over the fucking moon with either of them because we've seen Nyla and Shida a couple of times, and while we haven't seen Rio, I don't really know. I just don't really know anything about her. So she ends up winning anyway, which was a surprise. And then after the match, Shida gets in the ring, and apparently it was for a trophy, which I didn't realize. So she gives her the trophy, and then they just start elbowing each other, but like smiling, and it's kind of like that must be like some Japan thing, but yeah, it was just awkward to me.
This is proof that
What
Thunder
do you think?
Rosa should win everything because would have
Yeah,
been more impactful.
I agree. I agree with that. So yeah, just a bit of a damn squib, unfortunately, for the women's finals. I love the tournament idea and concept and bracket. I just wouldn't have personally booked it that way. And while it was surprising to see how it went, it just, I don't know, I felt underwhelming, unfortunately. As did the main event, which is my final shite. So the main event was Hangman and John Silver taking on Hardy and Quen. And I don't know, it did kind of create a little bit of hype behind the match we're going to see with fucking Hardy and Hangman. It did kind of create some stuff around the gauntlet match we're going to see at Revolution as well, because obviously after the match, all the tag teams came out and ended up brawling. But that feels a bit overdone at this point in AEW now. I feel like we've seen it about 3 or 4 times already. So it just was a bit of an underwhelming main event and a bit of an underwhelming finish, I thought. So all in all, it wasn't amazing for an AW episode, but there was some good stuff on there. And
Mm.
the more and more I'm talking through it, the more and more I'm like trying to alter what I think my rating is for the show. And I think I'm torn. I'm torn between a 2 and a 2.5, and
So
I
you're saying
think,
Raw might have been better?
yeah. I mean, what did I give Raw? I gave Raw a 2.5. So I think Raw probably might have been slightly better. So I think I'm gonna have to give it a 2.
Crazy.
I think for the go home show for Revolution,
Unbelievable.
for the go home show and for Revolution, it was, I don't know, like the main things on that show that I enjoyed didn't really have that much to do with Revolution. Well, the big signing did, but that was just not actually anything that really happened
Ooh.
on the show. And obviously the Cody Shaq stuff was good, but we're not seeing that pay per view. So
Welcome to the Cody Shack.
so it gets a 2 from me.
Okay. I think I'm still going to give it 2.5. I
Okay.
think it was firmly in line with Raw and NXT. That it was very watchable. There were bits that were a bit naff, but overall, it was an alright week. I think it'd be unfair to give it any less. I mean, you clearly want to be unfair, but whatever.
I mean, this is probably the first ever time you've given Dynamite a higher score than I. And
Honestly,
it's
we
not
were
so
getting
much
to a
that I
point. I
think it
thought we were
was.
going to have to introduce a 6 into our ratings just so you could give Dynamite a higher score. But
And
here we are.
the thing is as well, it was still better than NXT, and it was quite a bit better than NXT, but only by 0.5 in terms of. And the reason I'm knocked it down half a point is because I've had to factor in the fact it was the Revolution Go Home show, and it didn't do enough really to make me go, oh, this is, other than that big, the big announcement. But I don't need to necessarily even watch the show to find that out. So yeah, I don't know. I felt there could have been more done to hype up that pay per view.
Okay, I can respect that.
So, Anthony, time to layeth the smacketh down.
Right, so as far as the
Oh,
car
hang
goes,
on. Sorry. Oh, that was WWE. They thought they were going to have to fine you, but they realised it wasn't a leg slap. So,
is that right?
you could.
Yeah.
You could.
No, it was a smack. That anyway.
Okay, okay.
As far as the card goes, we had the show being opened with a promo from the one and only Daniel Bryan,
Oh, okay.
but then Roman turns up.
Oh, okay.
Then we as far as the card goes, we then had Montez Ford going up against Baron Corbin, with Baron Corbin taking the win. We had Sami Zayn going up against Angelo Dawkins, with Angelo Dawkins taking the win. We had Dominic Mysterio going up against Chad Gable, with Dominic Mysterio taking the win. We had Shayna Basler going up against Bianca Belair, with Bianca Belair taking the win. We saw Cesaro going up against a returning buddy, Murphy, with Cesaro taking the win. And then we closed the night off with a cage match between Daniel Bryan and Jey Uso, with Daniel Bryan taking the win.
Ooh,
That's
yeah.
the card. So, 2 highlights, and then we'll get into my fucking bitching and moaning. So, 2 highlights, Carl. Cesaro is being built is fucking brilliant. Like, this was perfect. Perfect opponent to like keep the momentum going, keep him looking strong. Yes. Why the fuck not? I have some gripes about some parts of it, but the fact that it's like Buddy is credible enough in the ring and they put on a really good match together that I'm like, yeah, and nothing else but Cesaro winning would have been right. And I'm liking where this is going, and I really want to see him heading towards Big E at least. I don't know if they'll give a main title picture yet. I really hope they do, but we've got to at least go IC for him, surely, Carl. But yeah, it's nice to see Cesaro looking strong for a while.
It is
Any
definitely
thoughts?
nice. I don't think he's going to be going to the title scene at all. I think it's going to be something between him and Seth.
I mean, to be fair, yeah, I'm breezing over that feud. The shenanigans involved in this are clearly pointing to him and Seth, but to me, the mechanism for him and Seth is to build him as a credible star. He's got to come out of the Seth match winning, and if you beat someone like Seth at the caliber of Seth, it puts you in that then main event scene, as far as I'm concerned. But at the very least, if they don't do the main event scene because they still want to keep Roman there, then we can at least put him in the IC title picture, because he'd be a really strong candidate. He'd actually make that scene a lot more interesting, in all fairness.
Oh
But yeah, I
God, I
don't mean to
completely
breeze
agree
over
with
him
that.
and Seth. That is going to be a really good match when they do pull it off.
Yeah. I think whether it's a Fastlane, whether it's a WrestleMania, I think there was even some rumors, which I can't see happening to be fair, but there's rumors of Cesaro versus Seth versus Daniel Bryan, which I'm not too sure how that would happen. I personally
Yeah,
think it's going to be more
Brian would have to
Daniel
come way
Bryan,
the fuck
Kevin
out of nowhere at
Owens,
this point.
yeah, with like the Usos or something, because I imagine
Well, they're
they'll
still
cost
keeping
them.
KO around the whole Uso thing, so I'm thinking you might be right there. I could see that being a triple threat. Who's willing to
Well,
hurt themselves more? Match.
yeah. So to be honest, I think a lot of this could come down to whether or not Jimmy Uso is cleared, because I think we're either going to get a tag match with Owens and Bryan teaming up against the returning Usos, or they are going to do something in terms of maybe like a triple threat or something. But yeah, I think we're definitely going to get Cesaro and Seth, and then I would like to think off the back of that, it's Seth puts Cesaro over, and we get to see Cesaro in towards the main event at least. Like I'd love to see Cesaro Roman personally, but
Mm,
that's just me.
I agree. So my next highlight, Carl, is honestly, Chad Gable going up against Dominic.
Wow, that's big for you. That to be fair.
Yeah, and you know what? This is Chad Gable. I've got to give him. I've always tried to give him credit, but like, and you might want to look at it and go, well, he shouldn't have ate the loss to someone so green. But at the same time, he done his utmost to put Dominic over. This is the most technical I've seen Dominic in a match at any point. And this was a really good show, and it helped highlight that he is a talented lad. Because all we've seen is him sort of being semi-protected by his dad and his family, and taking a beating by Seth, but showing heart. Like, we haven't seen a lot of him yet, if you know what I mean. And I think this was a good chance for some genuine wrestling between the two. And yeah, he was put over by Chad, and you could argue like Chad Gable shouldn't really be taking the loss to Dominic at this stage. Even so, I think it worked really well. And yeah, I want to give credit to both of them. So it has to be a highlight because I think they both look really good in this.
Yeah, I'll agree. I'm quite liking. Well, firstly, I like the fact that it's Chad Gable now and not fucking Shorty G or anything
Yep,
stupid.
drop that
There,
bollocks.
he's shown us what he can do. He's being treated, with credibility, and you can't deny that that's infinitely better than what he was being doing. So I like that. Otis is interesting as a heel. I don't particularly love it. I don't hate it. So
It's
I
better
think I
than what
need
we
to
were
see
getting.
more. Yeah, I need to see more before I can fully make my mind up on that. Dominic is still quite green, and Gable
He's a
did.
developmental talent who skipped developmental because of his dad. That's what he is.
Exactly, exactly. And you can see that, but I think someone like Gable can get a good match out of him, and this did show that. I don't really get the whole Ray and Dominic together thing though, where like, after the match Ray came down and took out Otis and headbutted the camera for some reason and then carried on. That was probably my highlight of the week, to be fair. He just goes, fuck off. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm happy for Gable is the main one I'm happy for. I think it's
Mm,
good to see him, and I hope he actually gets a bit of momentum himself. To be fair.
yeah. Then he look. So we need to move on to the O'Shites now, Carl. That's all I had, I'm afraid. So as
Hmm.
far as the O'Shites go, as I mentioned, we opened the night out with a promo from Daniel Bryan and then Roman. And the problem is that we had a pretty good promo from Daniel Bryan and then Roman. This could have been right. This seems to be some sort of weird insistence, and I don't know if it's from the network themselves or from WWE, that Roman bookends the fucking show. He
Hmm.
comes out at the beginning and he comes out at the end, and that's Roman time, right? But this promo would have been fine without them coming out. Daniel Bryan cut a promo, all impassioned. He's heading towards a main event match, and we're good. This didn't need the input from Roman, who come out and said what he usually says about tables and respect and whatever. And I don't want to put Roman down. He is an infinitely better heel than he ever was a face. But at the same time, I don't want the same, like, he might as well be a fucking doll with a pull string at some point now, because it's like almost like buzzwords and catchphrases at this point. So I think they need to be, they should be more sparing with the Roman promos, and they're not being, which worries me. But that's me shite to it. That being said, not a bad promo from Brian.
Yeah,
Don't know.
I thought the actual cage match itself was all right as well. To be fair,
Yeah, it
um,
was.
but yeah,
I do.
I
It's
agree.
one of the. I don't want to not give the cage match credit, but it's just like, why? Why are we in a cage? And why are these two fighting?
To be fair, there was no real benefit of it being a cage match, was there?
No. It's like some of the stuff they pulled off, like, it was like, yeah, so they didn't utilize the cage. Like, there was a couple of top rope moves, and it's like, we could have done that without the cage. And they, I want to say it was Daniel Bryan's yes lock that finished the match as well, not cage related. So, yeah, just to make it look more brutal.
I mean, I can't remember which show it was, but I was hypercritical of one of the matches being a lumberjack match, and it remained fully inside the ring. None of the lumberjacks got involved, and I was like, why the fuck is this a lumberjack match? Yeah. Whereas a great example of that was what happened on Raw, where you could see why it was a lumberjack match. It was stop Miz from running away.
It was
booked well, involved and stuff, and it was like that's perfect. Whereas this was just like, we're gonna have a cage match on SmackDown. I was like, all right, well, it doesn't need to be. Yeah, but it's cage. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
It's like everything's more extreme when you put it in a cage. Yeah. So that was me first. Oh shite, as it were. The second one, and this I might be missing something here, Carl. So I'm curious what you think of this. Corbin and Zayn. They're acting like these two are falling out. Were they ever friends? Have I missed something?
I don't really.
We had Zayn kind of helping Corbin. Like, I don't even know what they're going for with Corbin. Are we slowly getting a face turn from him? Because the way they booked, for some reason, Corbin didn't want to tag with Zayn, so we had two singles matches this week in quite quick succession. We start out with Corbin going up against Montez Ford, and Zayn helped Corbin get the win, but not because Corbin wanted it. He was just there to cause the distractions and such. And it was almost insinuating like Corbin wanted to do this legitimately, right? Which I can respect. But then you go, well, are they slowly doing like a face thing with Corbin? Because he's not been a heel in a while. I've mentioned this a couple of times where, like, you know, it was the Mysterios doing the heelish things to him as well. Not that they were making that obvious, but it was like they weren't like booking Mysterios as heels. But it's like, well, he's just trying to have a match and you guys are taking the piss. You know, so I don't know, I feel like they've been doing that to him a lot lately. And like, are they slowly turning him into a good guy? But that aside, we then have a match between Zayn and Angelo Dawkins, and Corbin sort of refused to get involved and just walks away from the match. So Zayn's on his bill, which again we're left with Montez and Dawkins, and then the faces do particularly heely things because Montez causes a distraction by attacking Zayn's camera crew, and that's ultimately what leads to the win. So you go, well, okay, they're going to do heely things to get the win, and the whole booking was kind of strange for that sense, but at the same time, it's like, am I meant to be invested in Corbin not liking Zayn and not wanting to get involved? Because they weren't a team, they weren't friends, or as far as I was aware, they weren't. So why am I suddenly meant to be like, oh no, not Corbin and Zayn?
Doesn't make any sense. No idea. Like, none of this really worked for me. I do think that Corbin is doing a lot more face type things than he is heel at the minute. But there's no way anyone was going to see him as a face when he's still the fucking stupid king character. So that needs to do one now. Like, that needed to do
Jerry
one
Lawler
ages ago. Well, he's not around, so he's done one. But the thing that he was even more, I just didn't like the fact after the match, he started beating up one of the camera guys. Like who are you? Like, you know, who's paying you? Like, he didn't know who he was. So like, did Corbin pay for that guy and to get in? What? I don't know what they were insinuating. I don't get it. So yeah, definitely a no shite. Bland.
Yeah, very weird. And my last one, and again, this might be a personal gripe because in a sense it was good to have him back and it was a reasonably decent match. But why was Buddy Murphy speaking to Rollins and almost like trying to be mates with him again? Why was Rollins involved in this match? And I thought we were done with all this shit. I thought he ran away with Aaliyah to have that weird relationship that the Mysterios now accepted. And now he's suddenly back and he's like, well, I'll take care of Cesaro for you. It's like, why? Why are you trying to come back? I don't get this. Like, just have the match. It didn't need Seth. Well, it did need Seth because it was about Seth because that's what we're heading to. But why? This could have just been a match between him and Murphy. I could have even lived with Seth turning up and being like, because he doesn't like Murphy now. Or Cesaro. Exactly. But like that why was there any interaction?
Yeah, I have no idea.
It's like they forgot their own fucking booking.
It was quite a big gripe for me, to be honest. The fact that Murphy did show up, and it was just like, oh fuck, not again. Because, like, you know, I had to sit through all this on fucking Raw before it happened on SmackDown. You know what I mean? It's like I do not want to see this shit again. I was fuming, and I know that they're
I
not
just
back
don't.
together or not, because Seth was like, "Get out my face," blah blah blah, and he was
But that's the
clapping.
bit that annoys me is that they booked it like
Mm,
he's approached Seth and Seth's been like, "Get out my face." It's like, hang on, didn't you have like a hard fought battle to get away from Seth? Wasn't
hmm
that your vindication? Didn't you walk away from this with the upper hand, and now
Yeah,
you're coming back almost like you regret it? Why?
exactly. It's like, I
Doesn't
didn't
make
want to
any
see
sense.
the Cesaro situation. It's like, really? What the fuck was all the last months for then? Yeah, didn't like
It's
it at all.
like okay, I got the Mysterio thing out of my system. I'm back, Seth, and I'm on Team Seth. And he's like, no. Like, what the
No,
hell?
you're not. Um,
Yeah,
the only other
whole
thing I
thing
want
was
to
a bit.
mention,
No,
because I can't see it on your notes, and
it's my
I'm
show.
hijacking it.
Well,
What are your thoughts on Apollo Crews? He's got a Nigerian accent now and Nigerian bodyguards, and he's like
look,
done the
I'm.
reverse Kofi Kingston.
I love it. Um, I the accent is a bit much.
hmm
Like for that reason, that's like, well, we know you're putting that on, right?
Well,
But
he's trying to say, isn't he, that he was so desperate to fit in with the rest of us that he's been stifling this, his true heritage all this time and all this kind of stuff. It's an interesting gimmick because it's got enough about it to be a strong heel gimmick, I think. But I don't know,
I agree with you.
it feels
I
weird.
think the accent is a step too far. I think
Mm,
I can get on board with the whole like. To be honest, it doesn't even have to be a heel thing when he was like, you know, embracing his Nigerian heritage side of things. But they've done it as like a he feels like essentially like he's had to put on this whole
hmm
persona that he was putting on before, and this is the resentment, and this is the heel reason, and so on. I just think like the whole trying to suggest that we've been talking for the last 10 years because you were trying to fit in is just a bit crazy. I don't know, just
hmm
that's a little bit too much with the whole accent thing, but I don't. It's a promising gimmick.
hmm Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I'll be honest. Does anyone really care about the IC title scene at the minute? No
Nope.
offense, Biggie.
Do not care.
Indeed. So as far as ratings go, Carl, and you're going to be surprised because I have slightly changed it. I'm going to have to give this 2.5 as well because I can't, in good conscience, give this any better than I give the other shows. It's a solid 2.5 for the entire week of wrestling for me this week, but they were all okay with some gripes. So 2.5 again.
Okay. Well, I don't know whether this will shock you or won't shock you, but I'm going to give this a 2, which would actually make Raw my favorite show of the week, which is the
Holy
first time in a
shit!
long time that has
In
happened.
a long time.
Um, but
And
yeah, there was
if you could
enough.
speak to Attitude Era Carl now, he wouldn't even be surprised by Raw being your favorite show because Raw was fucking awesome for that guy.
Well, that's it. That's it. Um, but no, I don't really know what to say about it, to be honest. I feel like with Dynamite, it was the fact that it was the go home show for Revolution. That was the bit that kind of made me kind of was a bit more sour on it. But with
Mm.
this, I just felt again like stuff happened, didn't it? But there was nothing that was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like I like Cesaro, I like the fact he's winning, but it was Murphy, so I'm like, um, like I liked the cage match, but it was like wasn't necessary. I liked the fact that Daniel Bryan is gonna go up against Roman Reigns, cool, but it was just very meh.
Considering what we've already got, it's hard to. This is the issue, I think, and I think they even tried to do tongue in cheek with this last week with Edge. But this is the issue. Like we're getting Brian Roman, but we know that Roman's going to go up against Edge at the main event of Mania, and if that doesn't happen, people are going to be pissed off. So Brian's not going to win.
Oh, exactly.
We already know that.
I I've got a big problem with Fastlane, if I'm honest, because it used to be back in the day, you'd win the Royal Rumble, and your next pay per view really would be WrestleMania. Over time,
Didn't they used
I
to
was
have
gonna
one
say
in
over
between, but it
time,
wasn't Fastlane.
yeah. So over time, they then modified that and made it to be No Way Out, and that was more like the cage matches and like I think elimination chamber style ones in the end, and then that
Mm,
went away. And I was like, well, now we're on Fastlane, but like WrestleMania seems to move out more and more as well because it was more like March time, and now it's like middle of like April. I
mm.
don't know. It feels a bit. It's too long, isn't it, from winning the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, why is this not the next pay-per-view? Like,
yeah,
it gets to a point when you're like, what's the point in having the winner of the Rumble go for the title at Mania? You're almost delaying them by a month by having it for Mania.
Exactly.
Mania, obviously, biggest show of the year, but if you're in the business of winning the title, do you care what platform it's on?
And when you had obviously the Saudi shows and stuff as well, you would have about 3 or 4 pay-per-views in between the Rumble and Mania.
And then sometimes they'd have Goldberg win the fucking belt.
That did happen sometimes, you're right. So yeah, that's my biggest gripe with it at the minute, because like Edge has won the Rumble. Yeah, Edge is back. He's done fuck all since.
It's a fair point, because like by rights, Edge could go for the title of Fastlane, and then he'd definitely be the main event of Mania anyway. So why would you want to delay it? Why would you not want to go for the next pay-per-view?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like they've had to go and do this stupid shit with Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks teaming up now to give them something to do, because obviously they can't fight till Mania either.
So because our matches are booked.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I think there's a fundamental problem with the amount of time between Rumble and WrestleMania that creates these problems. I think back in the day when you didn't have so many pay-per-views, it was easier because you might have one stumbling block potentially, but now I don't know. I just feel like it's a lot.
It is a lot.
There's a lot.
You're right. But that was this week in wrestling.
It was, and that was this week of the A2theK Wrestling Show.
That it was, Carl. That it was. And what a fine week it was.
Thoroughly enjoyed yourselves. We gave you all the news, all the rumors, all the happy
haps. Bitched and for a while.
We did a lot of that too. We spoke with the wonderful legend himself, Stanley Sherman, about his incredible masks and career he's had, and how it's transformed so many of our most loved wrestlers in the world today. And then we've bitched and moaned some more about all the shows of the week. Fun times.
Indeed. And we're going to be back not the same time, Monday next week to do it all over again. Except for the interview with Stanley. We only did one of those. We'll probably do something else next week. But everything else we're going to do next week.
I think, next week we'll be giving some of our thoughts on Revolution, for example, because we're doing it a day early this time. So
that's true.
We are going to be behind.
We can't talk about it. And we're probably going to have a lot of things that we need to get off our chest.
Oh, yeah. And speaking about things on our chest, check out our merch for everyone on YouTube. It's our faces. Well, half our faces. You may say we're two-faced.
If you're the type of guys who are like, I want to buy their merch, but I just don't know which one I like more. No, you don't have to pick. Go halves.
Go halves. I like it. But yeah, you can buy all our merchandise via A2theK.co.uk. Loads of good shit on there.
And there's more good shit coming. Carl's got a ton of ideas. Full of ideas. There's loads of fun shit coming as well.
Loads of fun ideas. Anthony's just had a good one just before this show. You may say ideas are exploding out of our heads. See what I did.
Good times. Good times.
So yeah, buy our shit. Follow us on all the other shit. Loads of follows on Instagram. We've passed the 1,000 follow mark. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much for that, guys.
We appreciate it. As you know from if you're watching us on YouTube right now, we passed the 100 subs, so we've now got a custom URL. Winning it.
Thank you very much for that one, guys.
TikTok picking back up again. You love us, we love you, and then we're also on some other ones as well, and we probably should be more active on them, but
yeah. Well, let's be honest. Tumblr, I don't keep up to date at all, but we've got one. Carl's in charge of our Snapchat, so if you want a dick pic from Carl, that's where you go. I'm kidding. We don't do that. Not on this show.
Anymore. But no, I don't quite know what else to say about that. But yeah. So
yeah. And if you don't already follow us on any of those social medias Carl's mentioned, get on it, man.
That's it. And soon we'll have an OnlyFans probably as well, because I'm not going to be sending them on Snapchat anymore.
I mean, it's where we just talk about how much we love AEW. We call it Only Stands.
Hey. Yeah, I like that.
Come on,
That's a
mate,
big
come on,
fuck you to a few people. Yeah, so that was the show. That was another week, and we thank you all, and we hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and we'll see you next Monday.
That we will.
You're watching or listening
to A to the K.
The A to the K.
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 These guys are awesome. Check it out.
Check it out. Change your life. You'll be thanking me later.